Shalom and welcome to Challenging Torah, a project of the Malibu Jewish Center and Synagogue. This week we are in the portion of Vayera, and it begins, Vayera lav Adonai ba'alanei Mamre, v'hu yoshev petach ha'ohel kachom hayom. And the Lord appeared to him, Abraham, by the terebinths of Mamre, as he sat in his tent in the heat of the day. Abraham has just been circumcised at 99. He is having a rest moment, poor thing, and he lifts up his eyes and he sees, Vayera, 3 men coming down the road. Now we know they're angels, but he doesn't. And he runs to meet them, and he brings them into his tent, and he offers them great hospitality. Makes cakes and some milk and curds, and Sarah has to run, of course, and get it together. And he is ish chesed. Chesed being loving kindness. This is the primary attribute, or midah, as we say in the Musar work of Abraham. Rab Shlomo Volpe, who is an expert on Musar of the 20th century, said that with each act of chesed builds the world. Abraham certainly builds the world with his reaching out in a hospitable manner, and he even follows them down the road to say goodbye to them as they leave towards Sodom. Sodom is in its moment of almost destruction. God has decided to wipe it out. And once again, it is the quality of chesed, this time broadened to include not just hospitality, but the ability to shoulder the burdens of those around you, to use your loving kindness to repair the world. And Abraham, who is God's partner, is not shy. And he says, no, wait a minute. How can you wipe out the entire Sodom? What if there are 50 people? And we know the famous negotiation. They get all the way down to 10, and God goes, sorry, not even a minion of good human beings. And we know that the opposite has happened as the angels have gone, and Lot, rather than being hospitable, allows the neighbors in who really want to take these angels and frankly molest them in a very difficult manner. Sodom is destroyed. Abraham does get his dream, the second child, Isaac, and Sarah is not always happy. And Sarah is not always happy with Hagar, and so for the second time, she's had it with Hagar and says, out she goes. And as Abraham protests from his place of chesed, God sets limits. Because the difference between chesed and gevura, its balance, are limits. And he says, no. Listen to her voice. Isaac will inherit. And he is given the limit on his first son. Abraham continues to be tested. And he is tested, they say, 10 times. And the ultimate test we know. He's quiet. And we go, all that noise and all that standing up for humanity? How could he take his son? And yet, it came to pass after these things that God tested Abraham, and he said, Abram, and he says, Hineni, and he tells him to take his son, go to the mountain. Abraham lifts his eyes, sees the mountain, but he doesn't see everything that he's supposed to see. And so what he does not see is the effect of his following the test so closely that he is really not tuned in to the rest of his family, not to his son Isaac, and certainly not to his wife Sarah. And so he does not see that there's a ram. It takes an angel with knocking the knife out of his hand to say, look up, Abraham. And Abraham looks and he sees and he says, he lifted his eyes, the quote goes, and looked, and behold, behind him a ram, caught in the thicket by its horns. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered him up for a burnt offering in the place of his son. And Abraham called the name of the place Adonai Yireh, as it is said this day, the mount of the Lord it will be seen. Again, it's about mindfulness, about Yireh, about that space where God appears or disappears. Abraham sees, and he does see the ram, who Midrash tells us has been waiting in the thicket like a prop ever since the world was established. And he sees what was not apparently before him because he's so focused. But you know, he didn't really see what he did to his wife, what he did to his child. Isaac will always face the fact and have the memory that his father was about to kill him. Sarah, the Midrash tells us, Satan comes to tell her the story, v'lo ispika. She couldn't even stand to hear the end of the story, and her breath leaves her, and she dies. So he did not see what was happening to those around him, despite his innate chesed and his ability to be obedient and to follow the directions. So we endlessly struggle with that balance between chesed and gevura, with the balance between mindfulness and too much attention without seeing a bigger picture. That's our challenge for the week. And we hope that we can continue to talk about it at our Torah study at the Malibu Jewish Center and Synagogue. Shabbat Shalom.